So here we are on the move again. We had a request from a comment on one of the videos some time ago to go and visit Leeds. So that's what we've done here this Friday night. We booked a train up. Here we are at Leeds train station. Let's go and explore. So we've checked into the Hotel Leonardo in Leeds. Quite a nice cityscape view out of the window. Nice, hopefully comfy bed. We'll check out the bathroom as always while we're here. We've got a bath, shower, disabled cord just in case, toilets, all good stuff, and sink. Nicely stocked with towel as well, which is all lovely stuff here at Leonardo Hotel in Leeds. Look at this, Rudy's Pizza. Jake, what do you think? Your thoughts on Rudy's Pizza in Leeds?
I think Rudy's is an absolute classic. It's one of the finest Neapolitan pizzerias
Classic.
you can find throughout the UK.
Absolute gem.
Highly recommend it.
Highly recommended. You can't beat it. Enjoy it. Bit of Rudy's Pizza, look at that. Well, the reputation of the north of England for being wet is certainly correct on this Friday evening here in Leeds. It is an absolute washout. Should have bought an umbrella, should have bought a coat, and you know what, it's pretty chilly as well. You can probably tell by my holding of the phone the fact that it is. I am absolutely shivering here. It's really cold here in Leeds tonight. So we come inside one of the indoor arcades in Leeds to visit a little jazz bar called Domino, which you've got to go through a barber's to get into. It's quite an intriguing business model. Let's go and check it out. So we're just leaving Domino after a bit of live music. Jake Gilbert, your thoughts?
I think Domino's is an absolutely amazing club in Leeds.
Absolutely.
It's one of the main hotspots for the jazz scene in Leeds.
Mm.
And I think the music there is fantastic. There's many live bands throughout the night, and they have events on all weekend. So if you're ever in Leeds, check out Domino Club if you can find it.
Absolutely, if you can find it through the barbers. Couldn't agree more. Domino, a great band on this evening with some lovely arrangements of some very famous pieces. Let's see where this is next. So as we now advance to Call Lane, a place where Jake informs me is full of all walks of life, from students to successful adults. I wonder where we fit in that criteria, my friend. Because we're not students anymore. Well, let's go and see what Call Lane is all about. See about all of those types of music, and we'll see if we can't find a song or two that we might just know the words to, and we might just be able to sing along to at the top of our voices. Let's check out Call Lane. So here we are leaving the wonderful Call Lane. You can see such life here, even on this wet October night here in Leeds. Jay, your assessments on Call Lane?
I stand by my comments before. An absolutely fabulous experience of Leeds. All types of music, all types of people, from successful adults to students.
Absolutely.
It's got a mixture of everything. It's perfect for a night out in Leeds.
Liv, your assessments on Call Lane?
I love it.
It's wonderful. It's a great place to be.
Wonderful place, magical place.
It really, really, truly is. Come and visit Call Lane on your trip to Leeds. It's a really, truly lovely place. Jake and Liv there adding in to this wonderful segment on Call Lane. So the last one that we're going to investigate tonight in Leeds is the infamous Stone Roses Bar, which is, I'm told, a little bit rough and ready, but apparently there are some absolutely brilliant tunes in there. So let's get amongst it and we'll have a look and see what life's like in the Stone Roses Bar in Leeds before we hit the hay for tonight and have a look round the town tomorrow in the daytime. So that brings us to a close of our night in Leeds. We'll get back to the hotel and we'll have a good sleep. Ready for tomorrow, where we will explore some of Leeds in the daytime and see all the lovely things it has on offer. The Stone Roses Bar was brilliant fun. All of that great music from largely the north of England, some brilliant songs, brilliant company. It was brilliant fun, if a little bit rough and ready. Anyway, folks, it has been an absolute pleasure seeing you tonight for this segment of the video in Leeds, and we will have a look and see what this great city has got on offer for us in the morning. See you then. Morning. It's a very fresh morning in Leeds here, and we're going to check out a few things, starting with the Royal Armouries Museum before we meet up once again with Jake and Liv. And we go and have a look at some of the other things in the city of Leeds before heading home this evening. So, hope you enjoy what we've got in store today, starting with the Royal Armouries Museum, which I'm taking a short walk, about a 5-minute walk from the hotel to get to there. So we're here at the docklands outside the Royal Armouries Museum. You can possibly see just ever so faintly in that glass tower there are a number of spears and knives. So we'll go in and check those out in this building that does look a little bit contrasting to the remainder of Leeds. The remainder of Leeds is all very modern, all very urban. And then you've got this here, which almost looks a little bit depressing in a way. But let's go and have a look at the interesting stuff inside. So we're inside, and it is actually a free thing, but they do have a suggested donation, so we will make one to have a look around the Royal Armouries Museum. So here's what's referred to as the Hall of Steel, and you can see there are a number of cannons around the side of the wall. But if we look up, that is very heavy. Not a great angle of myself, mind you. Loads of knives, loads of tiny cannons, muskets dot the wall, including His Majesty's coat of arms there. What an incredible thing to look at. It must go maybe 4-5 floors up, and it's just full of knives, bayonets, spears, muskets. It's incredible, what a display. You've got examples here of soldiers through time, sort of looking at the modern soldier, going back to the World Wars, and further back even still to the world of the gladiators. And here's where we'll start, having a look at even earlier warfare, sort of 10,000 years ago, which would have been battle fighting with bows and arrows, and probably using materials such as stone for their tools. You're looking here at something that's about 650 years before the birth of Christ, and one of the very earliest examples of an army helmet for the people who were fighting in those battles to wear. So we're now looking at sort of that Saxon period, just sort of post-Romans, and these are showing more of the Saxon and Viking helmets. Noticed that unlike a lot of popular films, those helmets don't in fact have horns on them. And we can also see some really early swords. If you look at the style of them, they're nowhere near as sharp, and the blades aren't anywhere near as well rounded as we would sort of experience today when we sort of look at replicas and sort of look at swords made for films. They're sort of absolutely perfectly made. These ones are, you know, a little bit more rough around the edges, and we're talking sort of maybe 800-900 for these examples of swords and helmets. But also at the same time, you can see at the same time we can see this example of what's known as pattern welding, where you've got some blades with some more ornate patterns on them, which have come from Japan. An example of an archer dressed in traditional sort of War of the Roses era type of dress. And of course, archery has sort of gone from the battlefields now and has been replaced as an Olympic sport, and one that requires quite a great deal of skill. All of these archers would have been trained to very, very high levels back in those days. And we can see, even with a difference of only 500 years, the metallurgy associated with making the swords, this one's from Germany, and also making the armour and the maces had taken a great leap forward to go from something that's fairly primitive to something that's fairly well designed, to that heavy cavalry equipment of a full bodysuit armour, which again is German. This would have come from sort of around 1520. Such advancements in only sort of 500 years. The earliest examples of handguns as well were coming around at this time, and you can see with the slightly later ones, maybe 16th century, they have got those wooden handles and long heavy barrels made out of bronze and iron. These would have been really heavy to handle. And that very early example of a handgun is shown in this example of a recreation of the Battle of Pavia, which would have been 1525, between the French and the Holy Roman Empire. There was again a really significant development in the next 300 years as we're starting to look at all of these musket rifles and flintlock pistols, where you would actually have to load the barrels with gunpowder before shooting caliber balls out of them at really high speeds, causing devastating impact. The problem, of course, though, with these kind of rifles and also grenade discharges, that the muskets took so long to reload, you had to be absolutely certain that you were going to hit your target with the first shot. We can't look at armour without discussing chainmail. Chainmail was a little bit more lightweight than full body armour, and it was used in medieval warfare. Of course, chainmail now can indeed and is used in jewellery. If you watched the Derby episode some weeks ago, there's a jeweller in the city that turns this sort of stuff into jewellery, and I did of course buy a little bit to support the local businesses there. The First World War, of course, known as the war to end all wars. The guns were a little bit more well designed, even in the 100-year period between muskets and what we had here. They also affixed bayonets onto the front of their weapons should they need to attack at close range. As well as this, during the Great War, there were also the earlier examples of machine guns that were used behind home and enemy lines, particularly in the trenches. The gas mask as well was invented for those gas attacks, where horrible mustard agents were used in the trenches to try and inhibit enemy lines. This is an interesting exhibit of wood carvings. It's an exhibit by a chap called David Hay of West Riding Woodcarvers Association, and this is showing images of the Second World War. You can see here, you know, the old Navy battleships, aeroplanes that were used in warfare, tanks as well, and of course some of those devastating images associated with the concentration camps. A beautiful piece of artwork. In 1945 alone, to help with the war effort, nearly 6.5 million guns were made in Britain's fight against Nazi occupation. Nearly 4 million of those were these tiny examples of submachine guns, which could fire bullets at an absolutely rapid rate. Swift training was used to help with soldiers' depth perception. You have some of those close-up soldiers teaching them how to indeed fire their weaponry against a variety of targets, both close-up and indeed further away. The Gatling principle was developed to fire a number of fairly high caliber rounds in very, very quick succession, causing large amounts of devastation in not a lot of time. The Gatling principle was developed around 1870, and this sort of principle was used in the development of machine guns. Of course, weaponry wasn't just used in the fighting of wars. This full-body armour was used for horse as well in the spectator sport of jousting. And this idea of tournament happened way back in Roman times, of course, in the Colosseum, where the gladiators would quite literally brutally fight to the death for the entertainment of other people. A very, very interesting trip to the Royal Armouries, and obviously you've got this little area of commerce as well as you exit the venue. Absolutely would recommend. Brilliant history from prehistoric times almost until the present day, and looking at how the idea of weaponry and warfare has developed, and the fact still remains that in the world there are indeed many conflicts still being fought, which is very, very sad. A small section of the Leeds-Liverpool Canal connecting this great city in Yorkshire with Merseyside, which would have been absolutely vital for access between Yorkshire and the sea. We're in Leeds Trinity Shopping Centre, and on the top floor there is this Trinity kitchen. It's all full of different food stores. I've gone for a bit of curry with a nice view of Leeds outside the window. We'll see what this is like. Another one of those great examples of independent businesses really thriving here in Leeds Corn Exchange, with a great deal of vinyl records for sale here today. It's an absolutely beautiful space, building erected in 1862, and it's still an absolute thriving place even to this day. And now this slightly earlier 1857 Kirkgate Market, where a fledgling Marks and Spencer's was set up originally as a penny bazaar. Let's go and have a look inside. Not quite as bustling as the Corn Exchange here in Kirkgate Market, but there's still quite a lot of stuff going on in here, even if it is a little less well kept and a little less busy. And there you have the original Marks and Spencer penny bazaar. From tiny acorns, mighty oaks grow, as they say. So we're sat here in Rude Studio in Leeds. A few years ago, I had my ears pierced, and they've certainly healed over after sort of 2 years of not having them in. So Will thought, why not get them redone? Bit of fun. So we'll see what happens. So that pretty much brings Leeds to a close. As we walk past the Corn Exchange, you can see we've added the piercings to the ears. and I'm most grateful to Jake and to Liv for having me here in Leeds. It's been an absolutely fantastic trip. Leeds, all in all, is a great city, an absolutely great city. Plenty of life, particularly last thing at night, and plenty of hidden gems in there as well. You know, the amount of culture that you've got in Leeds is a little bit different because it is quite a new city, quite a lot of modern stuff going on here, but it's still a great place to come and visit. We'll see you next time.